what is black and white and has astrology all over?
The Midheaven podcast. Oh, snap. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Midheaven podcast. I am co-hosting this wonderful production with Beyond the Veil.
Hi, guys. Thanks for coming back. I'm Candace Marie. Thanks, Mike. We have a podcast name. We have a name. It's the Midheaven.
We didn't have a name when we did it the first time.
We didn't.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
I kept thinking about it and I was like, man, this needs to be fucking big. Like so big that the whole world sees it. And then it was like, bing.
You got it like that?
I mean, yeah. And then, of course, it was like a lot of getting on the internet and having to like see like what other motherfuckers took bits and pieces of that name and what emails I could and could not have and who was sitting on some of it. But after some trial and error, I was like, all right, this is going to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So ironic because the inception of all of this happened with all that planets on my midheaven.
Oh, really?
Aquarius is my midheaven.
Oh, that's right, because you're Taurus rising.
Yep.
All right.
And North
Woo!
Node.
All right, I feel good about it now.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, for those of you guys who are following us, thanks for coming back. This is our second episode. We can be found on Twitter. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram. You can find us on Anchor, Spotify, Facebook. Just search the Midheaven podcast. That's where you can find us. Now we have it set up also, so if you guys want, you can actually check out the link in our YouTube or in any of our bios, and you'll be able to find our Anchor or our website hosting page where you can actually leave us a message. You can call in, ask us questions, whether it's about your love life, a transit, if you want us to pull a tarot card, or maybe you just, are trying to deal with being an alien in your mother's basement. Whatever's going on, we're here for you. So leave us a message.
I can help translate for you. I speak Earthling very well. Very well. You probably thought I was one. Nah.
So we're back, and so it's been about a week or so since our last episode. And in that episode, we touched on how the fixed signs were going to get affected by some of the squares. And so we got a lot of feedback from you guys. Everybody's been super positive. Some people are like, fuck yeah, this is an astrology podcast for astrology nerds. And other people are like, whoa, like I'm still learning. So I thought it'd be cool, especially since now we've got some stuff to talk about as a result of the Saturn in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus transit that's building. It's going to start on the 17th. I just want to talk about the crazy stuff that's been going on in the news now.
It's getting crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier.
I'm living for it. Like, I have to tell you, last year, I took Apple News off of my apps because I was like, every single time the clown was like tweeting things and like everybody was like on the brink of World War III or anything, I couldn't do it. So I got rid of my news app, and recently it has come back because I feel a little bit more comfortable with just the state of the world. A little bit. The
irony.
It's like
it's about to get crazy.
Yeah, it's about to get crazy. It's like the calm before the storm. Right. And everybody keeps saying like, oh, the crazy shit already happened. It was like, everything that happened at the Capitol. Oh yeah, God, and I'm like, you don't even know. So right. Let's talk about what's been happening recently in the world, in the news, because there's some big things happening. So, the Reddit rebellion, that's what they're calling it. Like all of these young investors that are getting in through Robinhood and all of these other investing apps, and going and hyping up through Reddit, smaller stocks like AMC and GameStop. Have you seen all of that? People are just like millionaires overnight. It's kind of fucking amazing, to be honest with you.
I don't think I can go anywhere where people aren't talking about that or mentioning it on. That's how I found out about it, because it's just like everywhere on the timeline, memes. It's been blah. And just real quick, for those of you who are new, who are getting into astrology, this is your one chance to like be an individual pioneer and like make and come into your own interpretations of your experience of the planets, because you're going to come into knowledge and realize might have been right the whole time, or you have your own like special understanding.
It's such a good time to be learning about astrology. Like, I feel I'm trying so hard to be super positive about it, but I think back like 7, 8, 9 years ago, like nobody gave a fuck about this stuff. Nobody gave a fuck about this stuff. Nobody cared.
I was in college going around and like asking people like, what's your sign? What's your sign? What's your sign? And like, you couldn't approach dudes with that because they'd be like, I don't believe in that shit. Only the girls do.
Dudes are still doing that shit.
Right. Well,
dudes are still doing that shit.
That's thankfully or respectfully consistent, because I just like consistency and the patterns and whatever. But realistically, I would walk up to girls and half of them thought that I was hitting on them all the time. And then like after I would talk about their sign, they're like, oh snap, he actually knows what he's talking about. And then that really helped me become a really good astrologer, because like just the experience and talking to people
and stuff like that. I've gotten like that with like rising signs and stuff. Like, I'm a creep. I'm a super creep. I'll like watch somebody walk into the room and I'll like immediately look at their ears and their stature and their profile and their nose, and I'm like, that is totally a fucking Sag rising. And sometimes I'll have conversations with people who I know they know their astrology, and I'll get a couple minutes in and I'm like, you're a Gemini sun, aren't you, with that Virgo moon, and you're a Pisces rising? And they're like, what the fuck?
I want to get on that level.
Ascendant stuff is cool. Like, guessing people's ascendant is cool. That's,
I want to get on that level.
Okay, so I'm getting off topic.
For me, it happens on accident. Like every time I try and guess the sign, it's wrong. But sometimes it'll just come to me. I remember, I'll never forget this. Like I was at BJ's and someone was serving me my food, and I was like, "Are you a Virgo?" And she was like, "Yes."
You're pulling that shit with everybody,
huh? So cool. No, because sometimes I get it wrong when I guess. So like it was that one of the times I got it right, but I didn't guess that time. Like it was just the way she was like doing it. I was like, oh, this is very Virgo. Boom. And it is organic and like that. Oh, I just feel like.
What about moon signs?
Okay.
Can you pick up on people's moon signs? Because everybody I ever talk to, they're like, you're a fucking Sag. And I'm like, I'm a progressed Sag, but I'm a Scorpio. Right. But everybody thinks that I'm a Sag, and I can't quite figure out why. Maybe it's because I have Jupiter in the 10th. Maybe.
I think it's the progressed Sag.
It's got to be the progressed Sag, because all my planets are in the. All right, well, progressed Gemini moon. That's a really good
question too.
Where was I going with this? Okay, so personalities, signs, guessing signs.
Yeah, rising. Once I get the rising sign down, it's a wrap. Then I'll start hitting on women with astrology. I feel like
the rising sign's gonna be easier to pick up unless they've got some like inverted, because like my chart's inverted, but like an inverted chart, like let's say somebody has, a Cancer sun in the 10th house. Those can be harder. Those can be harder to predict or determine or tell what they are, because you'll look at them and you'll be like, man, they act like such a boss, or they're very mature. Or they come across like very grown, and then you talk to them and you're like, oh, it's a Cancer.
That's my youngest
sister. Not that they aren't,
show.
Right?
That's a while.
So that's what gets me is like I can always pick either. I feel like it's either like the rising or the moon. The sun can be harder to predict, even though that's probably
don't let this woman fool you. She knows she has to dumb it down so she doesn't look too on point. I'm trying to get on that level, but it's all good. I don't do a lot of analysis. That's why I want to actually like. I'll look more into it. It's not like what I'm nerding out on right now is midpoints.
Oh, yeah. And like what midpoints mean. Did you see my post about my love letter?
No.
Okay, so I have to tell you the story. So I have been staring at all of these degrees because they're between like 4 and 8 degrees of Aquarius, and all those planets have been there recently. So I'm like, okay, it's my sun moon midpoint, and Venus is gonna hit it, Mercury is gonna hit it, and I'm like looking at my book and seeing like what's supposed to happen, and it says like, oh, you're gonna receive a love letter. And it was in Aquarius, and I was like, who's going to send me a love letter? And I'm like waiting for like a day or two. I'm like, who's going to send me this love letter? So I crack open a book that I got used. That's like a book on progressions and other things. And I'm reading through it. And as I'm reading through it, this piece of paper pops out. That's like a kitten, and it's like a notepad. It's right there. Well, I'll show it to you. It's somewhere over there. But it's like a kitten. And somebody worked out their entire astrology chart. like by hand, like went and like looked at the degrees and like pulled the information, not on a software. Like they worked it out based off of like the degrees. And like when you learn how to practice astrology and cast a chart, they did it manually.
That's the real
that's
shit.
Not easy to do.
That's the
that's some real shit. Like
Damn.
if you can do that,
like when the power outages happen and we don't have computers and it's
and
like,
you have to know about the time you were born and looking at those degrees. So
the moon is half cast.
So it's all there, and it's a he. I can tell it's a dude, and it has like all the planets and it has the degrees and everything, and he worked the whole thing out and the house cusps and everything and the trines and the aspects, and I was like, oh my God, this is my love letter.
And that's Aquarius too, damn.
So then I like went and like basically like went and figured out his chart, because I was like, oh, Pluto is in this degree of Libra, and okay, so he's like 35 or 36, and I was like, no, he's 39, and like looked at all of it, and I basically created the chart. I like reverse engineered this chart to see who it was, and it was like a very interesting chart.
By the way, I'm so glad you said that. That's how I low-key ask women how old they are. Like, instead of asking you how old you are, I'm like, what sign is your Saturn in? You
would ask that. He likes some older ladies. Don't get it twisted. He's got that cat moon.
Oh, yeah.
I have Cap Venus. I like older men. I like beards.
Right.
Yeah.
No, like Capricorn energy just attracts
older, mature people who are into whips and chains and leather and things.
50 Shades of Goat. Oh, yes.
All right, so let's talk about this Reddit rebellion. So getting back to all of the craziness going on with Uranus and Taurus, building into the square with Saturn. So we see all these like people who are these young investors getting in. They're hyping on Reddit. They're going and talking about what they're going to buy, what they're going to hold, and holding the stock because they're watching it bump up. So obviously everybody goes fucking nuts. The hedge funds obviously flip out. There's been days of all kinds of data not making sense. And clearly there's some kind of stock manipulation going on, right? So then the crypto markets run. You see like a huge run on, or it's been running a little bit before this, I think, actually, Bitcoin. Many more people are prepping to trade Bitcoin or take it as a payment. You've got Tesla that just got in and I think bought like 1.5 million or billion. I think it was 1.5 billion shares, which of course is going to have everybody fucking talking.
I think it spiked the market up like a bit too.
Well, that, and Elon went and was tweeting and was talking about this Dogecoin, you know, like the doggy meme, the one where he's like all like full and like surprised. So like that's a cryptocurrency coin. It was somewhere around, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 cents. And then of course it like runs up and like he's tweeting about it. And then everybody goes to Super Bowl and they get wasted and they talk about it. And people are buying this like penny stock. So I think really what's most fascinating is this is also Jupiter square Uranus. It's over amplifying the possibility of what could be in terms of the financial changes in the world or financial freedom or new markets or new ways of making money. But also Jupiter is the jokester. So we're seeing like,
well, Aquarius is
a joke.
The sign of the trickster.
Right. So when these two team up, you've got a lot of Jupiter Uranus energy. There's going to be wild memes, jokes, campaigns, all kinds of shit going on the internet.
Right.
Right?
I mean, so masterfully said, because, you know, like, first of all, I don't want to hear anybody say that Mercury retrograde isn't real, because we keep on, I mean, these jokes about, I know everyone blames stuff about on Mercury retrograde, but there's a reason. You
got to clean out the fridge. You have to have a retrograde. You have to have those. I mean, the Mars retrogrades suck. The Venus retrogrades suck, but a retrograde is to go back, to go back into, to redo, rethink, rework. It's like without those opportunities, the drains would get clogged. We wouldn't make changes. We wouldn't have that outlet to deal with karmic situations. Like, you know, a Mercury retrograde you can deal with. We've got 3
but especially
a year.
Like, oh, and they're all going to be in air signs, by the way. It's going to go with Gemini and Libra. But in Aquarius, like, I had a new monitor that I had for a while, and I just happened to like put it together, and the monitor that I've been using, right? I replaced it, put in this new monitor, no signal. And I was like, okay, well, it's something wrong with the computer. I put my old monitor back on, no signal. So like now I don't have a monitor. And so that's why I'm saying personally, as a ruled by Mercury individual, stop slandering Mercury retrograde. Respect Mercury retrograde. He has heard the slander. He's not feeling it. And I mean, concerning the Jupiter-Uranus square, this is just, as an astrologer, and as somebody who has been following, we follow the stars like people follow stocks. Like that's that, and seeing it actually like play out and correlate is giving me so much hope, because this is all still the first decade. So everything that we're seeing is not only beginning, this is all off the heels of the Capitol rebellion, which by Black Lives Matter standard, that was a very peaceful protest, or whatever. But outside of that, this is very, very, very interesting that we saw that happen when Mars was 29 degrees and went in 0 degrees Taurus. So we kicked off this whole Mars square with that, and this is being followed up by the Reddit rebellion and this social media movement to eat the rich. So that lets us know we're
moving away from Leo. We're moving away from like this celebrity social status, the control.
That makes sense. Right,
it's not going to be about idolizing and giving the power away to certain individuals. It's going to be like, I think celebrity culture is going to be a thing of the past. That's what's coming eventually. It's
eventually, very soon.
People who are going to be the most successful are going to be the ones who think globally, but are individualists and may not want to partake in some of these political fucking circus sideshows and some of these, reality shows. And I think you're going to see a lot of people who are actually not going to want the spotlight.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because we're thinking globally, it's equality. Too. Right, for the safety too.
Yeah, because it's not even going to be safe to be a celebrity soon anymore. As soon as Pluto comes, that Star Killer saga, like,
yep,
it's already starting to happen. But the fact that I didn't want to pay too much attention to or get too in the hype of like investing, but the fact that happened, and the fact that this is all about the revolution of the individual. So
those hedge fund motherfuckers have been doing this for years.
Yeah.
For years.
But they got shook though.
Right. Oh, well, of course they got shook because somebody lost a fucking
really
boat. That's realistically what happened.
I can't buy the new G6 plane.
Boo fucking
settle
who.
with the G5.
But they've been doing this for years. So now it's like they're going to scramble. The suits don't know how to handle this. Robinhood shuts down. Mm-hmm. Some of the trades for a period of time, get slapped with a couple lawsuits. They bring it back, but other platforms have also gone in. I think Robinhood did this too, where they had some stocks that they also, they kind of like blacklisted. So they were like, well, we can't let all of these stocks, trade in a certain way. So they put holds on, I think, like 30 plus or minus stocks from what I remember. Don't quote me on that.
Because Robinhood is smart.
But they fucked up though. They fucked up.
Oh yeah.
And this was all in the shadow of Mercury retrograde.
Right.
I like what you said, how you were like, well, it's the first decan. Yes. Because the first 10 is about yourself.
Right.
It doesn't matter what sign it is. The first 10 is going to be about yourself. But we also have placements that are in the second because of the retrograde, because it's in the teens. Mercury's in the teens of Aquarius. And also we've got the sun that's in the third decan. So really, all three are being represented. This is what we talked about last month or last week. We were talking about everything that could potentially play out over 3 years is happening this month. So my prediction, it's no different than anybody else. It's like, I'm not different saying this, but something very big is going to happen. Something very big around February 17th, give or take a couple of days. Even if something starts to break the news those days and it comes out later, you're going to see, as a result of this square and the Mercury retrograde, once it goes direct, all kinds of flooding of information about some global situation.
Oh, yeah.
Something literally earth shaking.
That was pre-planned.
That's going to happen mid-month.
And or unexpected.
So Taurus being money, values, security, stability, beauty, cosmetics, food, currency, whatever, is squaring off with Saturn. So I also think there's regulation coming.
I'm so glad you said cosmetics, because one of the trending things is a Sephora basic.
Just got rid of
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
like that you're into makeup news. That's good.
No, someone sent me that.
Somebody
story.
said Sephora, right. And I'm like,
It was that. It got me interested in makeup, though, as far as like, independent makeup providers and people divorcing the mainstream, which is just the hugest theme. But I think first of all, your prediction is well said. I think very spot on. And the most important thing about this month and this period is that the tone has not only been set, we know for a fact, the fact that these people took the action. And you saw so many, of course, younger
come
people,
together.
Right, means that this is inevitable. Like that showdown is going to happen. It may, of course, on the way be stomped. There may be regulation changed, but that intent lets us know that it's inevitable. Like this is in some shape, form, or fashion going to come to a head where people are in a position to, at least we know more so people's intent.
Really, what you're going to see is just more control, more of them wanting to control the narrative, people trying to shut things down, political figures trying to shut things down, changes in government, and then all of that is it's like the stop sign that throws the brakes on Uranus's crazy energy. So while we may see major kind of moments where we have to wait and see how something plays out, or there's maybe delays or frustration, all hell's going to break loose in May, June. Like if you look at the transits of May and June 2021 and you see the sun and also all these other planets coming into Taurus and square off again, and
that eclipse is going to be
and then a retrograde and the eclipses, whatever is being limited in globally, whether it's travel, money, whatever, or even in your own life, it all hell's going to break loose, and you're going to see why there was a need to slow down or reevaluate values. One thing that's huge, and I have a lot of clients that are models. I have a lot of clients that are plus size models, and we've just seen just with where the state of everything is going, with like realizing that some of women's like sizing and how we sell clothes or how we market clothes is really not realistic for a female's body. So there's going to be this huge shift, I think, in how we look at health and wellness, because Taurus is what's beautiful, what's physical, what feels good, what smells good, but it's also about what we find attractive and what we value. So I think you're going to see like a lot of things that are going to shift and also amplify with equality in terms of all different shapes and sizes and colors of models. I think you're going to see a lot more of a push in the direction for fashion and cosmetics for things that are natural, organic, things that are sustainable and that are good for the planet, or maybe aren't going to pollute the planet. And we're going to see a lot more curvier girls out there. So I'm into that. I think that's a good thing.
And it's already been a bit soft launched before, like the awareness of it. So a lot of these social issues, especially the seemingly weirder ones, are going to get pushed. And I say seemingly weirder because of the pushback against it. I'm only mentioning this because of the unexpected quality of it and the energy, but apparently Lil Nas X bought titties. Which to me is just a wild concept. Like I just it and seeing news bits, like the reason why I'm bringing it up is because that made me realize the instant reaction I got was, wow, that's weird, and that's different, that's weird, and this type of energy is what we're gonna have like for the rest of the decade.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be all kinds of changes in
oh my god,
physical things, physical stuff.
You don't want to get caught up in the goose race with like the wild goose chase of investing in this, investing in that, because we have to. The last time Uranus did go through Taurus, America had like its Great Depression after the Roaring.
We also, I believe, I'm going to Google this. I think that was a time where there was a lot of currency changes going on. I think they were having a lot of changes in their bills. Like, I think they were playing around with like the kinds of bills and the amounts that they were printing and putting into production, and coins.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, you had a lot of change in that stuff too. Nowadays, it's like we have a coin. We're like, okay, cool, whatever. Maybe there's a new $50 bill or $100 bill. This very rarely happens. But I think really the Uranus shift is inevitably, there's going to be a crash. I don't like telling people that, but that's inevitable. And I also believe it's inching us towards moving out of being so heavily focused on the greed and the large amounts and more focused on, well, how can we be able to make everybody feel abundant?
Right.
How can we change our values as basically like, you know, a community or as a global community? And how can we, I think, diversify ways to be able to ensure that everybody feels healthy and wealthy and equal? So some say it's Bitcoin. Some say
the answer is Dogecoin.
Yes.
Yeah. It's Dogecoin.
Yep, it's Dogecoin.
Spoiler alert.
I definitely threw a little bit of money at that. We'll see. Hopefully,
as long as it lasts.
hopefully it'll like help me manifest like 10 G's. That's what I'm putting out there into the universe.
Word. Oh, don't sleep on Ethereum too. That's definitely gonna be dope.
There's a lot of people have been saying Litcoin too. I don't know. What do you guys think? That's something I would want to know more about. If there's people out there that are doing this stuff and you're into that, like.
Yeah, because that's another thing that really like tripped me out and brought me joy. There are people who read graphs like we read charts.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like, and it's just like a whole.
Oh
like,
yeah!
they
Did you see my meme about like the stock market boyfriend and the astrologer girlfriend?
Yes.
Like Elon Musk and his girlfriend.
That was amazing.
And like
That's the new
obviously
wave.
you've got girls for the last several years that have been sitting around talking about astrology stuff like to their partners and being like, and like guys are like, this is fucking Latin. And then you've got a lot of guys that are running around and they're talking about like AMC and crypto and this and that. And girls are like, I don't want to fucking hear it anymore. Like, unless you're going to cut me a check, I don't want to hear anything about that ever.
Word.
But I feel like there's a happy medium where like people are now looking at graphs and charts and trying to get into the flow of things.
Like it looks like a foreign language.
Pallas Athena has been very strong recently. I think that's why. Pallas has been the last couple of days conjunct the sun.
In Aquarius?
In Aquarius, yeah. Right here. It's been on my North Node. So it's been a lot of like patterns and noticing patterns and people picking up on patterns. Like astrology is just going to continue. I think it's going to continue to grow. But yeah, predictions, I don't know. It's like, are we going to see like a alien land on the White House lawn? Like that's what I keep asking myself. I'm like, what happens when they show up? Like to be a fly on the wall in a Mormon church or anywhere where there's an organized religion, because I feel like that's the beginning of Saturn going into Pisces. We talked about that horror show. What happens when we do have proof? I mean, real proof of alien life forms.
I'm glad you said real proof because I do not trust any alien exposure from the CIA or from the government or from that looks
because it's gonna be something that's gonna be spoon fed to you,
right?
But
if it is real, I mean that the thing I feel about aliens is that they've always been amongst us. So the whole rhetoric about we're gonna see aliens is a total.
So it's
illusion.
like Men in Black is real life.
Yes.
Like I call them implants. Yes. Like there are some people I talk to and I'm like, you're not from here, are you? Like you can just tell they're just like on another level.
Have you heard that joke that perhaps because apparently there are people who don't have internal dialogue, and so maybe they're NPCs or like people think for them. And I mean, I thought that was really mean, but it was also
funny.
It was very funny. I don't know. It's like damn, they were kind of saying like, oh wow, so like you don't even hear that.
No, I think life is like Men in Black.
I
really do. I mean,
no,
I wish we had that little like flash thing so people could forget things, but
I think we do that.
I think they're out there.
Yeah.
Right? They're out there. They've been out there. They've been walking amongst us. You've got Venusians and all kinds of weird Palladians and like reptilians. Don't even get me started on that.
Well, they were saying there was a file about not Tesla, but someone being from Venus. And if it's not Tesla, then it's not Freud. But someone apparently being from Venus. And if you look on their chart, Venus is on their sun. But if it was one of these like psychological,
I believe that. I know a couple people. Freud, actually, I know two really good friends of mine that are Capricorn suns, and they have Venus exactly on their sun, and they are Venusians. One was actually told that in a session, but they definitely are. Yeah, I could see that. It's interesting in Cap, but I think they're around. I think they've been around. I just think...
And exist as frequencies too, you know, and can probably... Maybe it's... I think we're going to be introduced to a whole new way of thinking and seeing these energies too.
Well, we're going to learn more about time travel and interdimensional beings. And I think we're going to learn more about black holes. And maybe we'll see that there has been more space adventures and travels and explorations going on than what we were aware of. Like, maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I definitely already think that there is like some kind of camp on Mars. Like, I think it's done. I think they're just hyping it. I think it's done because there's a handful of like billionaires that know when Earth is going to go kaput and they're going to be on a plane.
Well, and that's another thing, because I think now is going to be this period into the next decade is a crucial point where the research that these institutes have always known but couldn't tell us. I mean, if people rioted over what happened last June, there's just so much classified information that if they tell us,
everybody's gonna be shook.
Right. So I think we're reaching a critical moment where people are about to start individually finding that out, and you're not going to be able to censor everybody to where they might have to actually start declassifying
they're going to have to. I mean, listen, I'm crazy, but like they've been desensitizing everybody to this stuff since fucking E.T. or Close Encounters. I mean, think about it. They've been putting all kinds of alien culture stuff out for years. We've got movies, we've got TV shows, we've got exhibits, we've got all the crazies that tried to storm, you know, Area 51. I mean, it's been this build up, and I feel like they probably are already here, but there's like other aliens that they want to get involved and help us, but they can't, because guess what? We have to do the shit on our own. Like, we have to ascend on our own. We can't just blow each other up.
Right.
So this whole going to the fifth dimension thing, maybe that's part of it, because a lot of people are talking about, well, are we shifting into a new dimension? And I'm like, have you been to Hawaii? Like, they're already there.
They're already there. Damn.
They're already there.
Word.
Fuck, we should go to Hawaii.
I have to. I've never been there.
But there is this belief, and I've heard from a lot of people recently that are like, what's going on? I'm having migraines. What's going on? I'm having all kinds of weird inflammation and dietary changes. And I'm like, oh, it's happening. Like, people who are not usually that sensitive are just, I think, having ascension symptoms, which is why time is weird. It's like speeding up in some weird way, and it's moving at a pace that's unusual. I don't know. There's so many planets in Aquarius right now that it's just, for me, it's a little mind-blowing. And right when I think I know what's going to happen, I'm like, oh, plot twist. All right.
Apparently, the last time there were this much planets, it was the end of the Dark Ages.
No.
No?
60s.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if
Not
that's
seven
true.
Planets, right? They said like 7 planets in Aquarius was the end of... I don't know if it's...
I know there was a connection to that time, but the most recent time that we had was the 60s, from what I remember.
Which is good to know. I know Saturn was most recently there in 91.
Actually, I'll go back in time.
92.
Let's see.
But yeah, the bubonic plague and it entered the Renaissance. But
so that was kind of close. We had Node, Neptune, Sun, Chiron, Mercury. That was in 2008. But I believe it was sometime in the 60s. I don't know. I'll come back to this. But I'm positive that there was one that was more so recent. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, not a lot of people can really predict what's going to happen, other than, I think, when push comes to shove, because we all have a little bit of each sign in our chart. That's the beauty of astrology, is when you get to like learn about it, you realize that there's so many other energies that feed into your chart. So somewhere in your chart is Aquarius, and there is this pressure that's building to rebel, to do something that you really probably is unusual for you, or it's different, or it's kind of out of the box, or it requires you to get out of your comfort zone. And a lot of people are in a position right now, whether it's with their job or financially or a relationship, where they're like, well, do I just like go for it, or do I just like hold out? And what you're going to see is, in the next week and a half, the universe is going to show you where you're being resistant to that rebelliousness. It was like, what was the meme that you posted earlier or something? I laughed at it. What was it? It was like something about like being rebellious, or like Aquarius is like, fuck it.
I was thinking about the one with the anal swabs.
God.
But yeah, that's the.
Oh, the ones that they're doing for COVID?
Yeah, for the COVID.
What do I want to know?
But I'm trying to remember which one that could be in.
Weren't they doing those in Asia?
Today. Yeah, I think in China.
Why aren't we doing anal swabs here?
I think they're bringing it here. Apparently, it's more accurate too. I think it is here, and they started. I don't know. Hopefully, they don't have eye goggles. But I'm trying to remember that meme. But I mean, you also want to, because some people may think they're not rebellious, but you're seeing people who aren't into the rebellious stuff being rebellious against the rebels. So it's like everyone really does play this energy out, and
Aquarius is like about flying your freak flag.
Yep. Like
if there is a time
titties.
if there's a time to buy titties or come out and be like, I'm into furries. whatever you're into, or I'm a snake charmer. I don't know, like fucking be weird.
But we also have to remember that the action is happening under your nose, because all this Taurus stuff is 4th house to Aquarius. So it's like, it's still private.
Yep.
And it's not going to blow up in our faces, or...
I'm telling you, May is going to be like May is going to be the month. It's going to be fireworks between the eclipses and everything. What else could happen with the square? I mean, we talked about, there's going to be more. I think we might see some intervention where they're going to try to regulate some of this stuff going on with trades. I think they're going to come out finally and talk about what the plan is, if there is going to be another stimulus check. I think we are also going to see some aspect of developments, more so in crypto. I don't know what exactly. And I also am predicting there could be a big earthquake. If not an earthquake, it could be something that is still similar to like a volcanic activity. I mean, yes, this stuff's always happening all around the world, but something notable that people are going to be like, oh shit, did you hear this happen and wherever?
That's the vibe I get with Uranus and Taurus. And not even just an earthquake, but just like a constant tremor.
Yeah, we could have that.
Slowly get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and you have like mini earthquakes, and we have like it doesn't have to ever get big, but like that's just like the vibe I get with it.
I think maybe for people who are having issues like being grounded and stuff too, it's kind of interesting, because you got people who are going to clutch on and work with the crystals, and then you've got other people that are just like running around with the tin hats on. They're ready to be beamed up. Any tips you have for people maybe to deal with like this like jarring energy? Because I see that very much affecting a lot of people's electronics, especially during the retrograde. Maybe people being a little bit more cautious because you're going to be more accident prone or more likely to even break bones with the square to Saturn.
We have no prominent Virgo energy, and Neptune's in Pisces, so the conspiracy theory rollout that came out 2012 was some of the best. That was when they were dropping Zeitgeist and like, all this woke culture came through, and we're gonna see some of the greatest unique conspiracy theory.
You're seeing it right now.
You're right. But like it's about to get season series. It's about to be a great run. This is a amazing time to be.
Yeah, and the full moon in Virgo is coming too. The second it'll be the second half or February. Yeah, so we've got that full moon, and that's going to square the Mars.
Realities,
Mars. It's going to square. It's at 8 degrees, so it's going to square where we had the eclipse. So lots of weirdness in the media. We've also got Mars in Taurus trine Pluto. So some powerful Earth energy.
And running through into May, just like you said, because May, June of last year was when the everything really blew, and I feel like May, June again, where it's gonna revisit. It's gonna be like every time around this year something like that occurs, and we're gonna see a complete in the next starting out in 3 months, a complete shift of social culture. It's not gonna be recognizable now, and a lot of that's gonna come with clashes of. If you think about that narrative that used to get stomped down, for example, like LGBTQ now versus where it was 20 years ago. And I think we're going to see like groups like that start to actually turn over the influence.
It's possible. I mean, I think what's most interesting about this is that in a way it should very much mirror also a lot of the trends and things that were going on in the 2000s when we had similar squares. So I think that you're going to see huge cultural shifts across the board. But I also think that what it's really setting up is to show people, you know, it doesn't have to be about division. Ultimately, that's what this Saturn and Aquarius transit, I think, is about, and Pluto moving there as well, is that we're going into the Aquarian age where it's not like right or wrong, left or right, Republican, Democrat. It's going to be more about not just finding a middle ground, but everybody being on the same page. So we're going to see a lot of division and a lot of chaos and a lot of contrast. And that's what the magic word is, I think, for the next couple months is contrast. Like, where are you seeing contrast in your life, and where is the pain of staying the same almost harder and more painful than actually making a change? And so to make that change is a scary thing, but when you align with your values, Taurus, it doesn't seem like such a crazy or rebellious act.
And standing for something to not fall for anything. So you want the Capitol insurrection and the Reddit rebellion to be the models, because that we're going to see as a constant theme every month that will increase in intensity and have a blowout May and August.
Yeah, well, it's showing you that unity will override the system.
Yeah, and that's
unity will override the system. When you take enough little guys and suddenly like all the villagers with the pitchforks are out there, like it doesn't matter who's running the show. Yeah. Ultimately, like, you know, like even Rome fell, guys. I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say.
Plan. So like all it needs is one actual plan to make something happen, and I can't see people not.
Well, the micro is also very much the macro. So this is happening out in the world, but like for people who are listening, it's like every little act of courage and unity or bravery or independence or standing up for what's right or starting a social media campaign or bringing awareness or starting a group and including people, that's going to make shit happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And really, so many people around the world coming into their own, which I think is the most important part, being able to manifest your own success.
Oh yeah, Aquarius is all about wishes.
Oh yeah, the star
It's wishing. Card. So it's wishing things into reality. It's reaping the rewards of everything that came after Capricorn. So a lot of the work we did last year.
That's what I wanted to ask you, actually. So last year we had Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and that brought, 1918, Jupiter and Pluto were in Cancer. We had H1N1, and then when they were in Virgo, we had H2N3 or this whatever. So it's in Capricorn, right? We had, of course, the spread. So what do you feel like Jupiter and Saturn, that's now second house to Pluto, does to that? Does it manifest more of it, or does Pluto 12th house to it?
The internet's making a fuckload of money.
Oh my God, that's it.
Okay, Amazon made a fuckload of money. Okay, big businesses made a ton of money. But we also saw people gather in masses during a pandemic in the streets all over the country. That's a big deal. That's a lot of people gathering together and basically saying we're not going anywhere, until this changes.
During a pandemic.
Yeah. And we haven't seen that kind of movement since the 60s. I mean, yes, there have been all kinds of other protests and other things, but I'm saying real movements. Like people our age, we're going to look back in 30, 40 years and we're going to see some of that and go, I remember that. I mean, I was living in Hollywood when this was happening. The riots were going up and down my street for about a week. And I remember finally just being like, okay, I'm going to go out there. I mean, it was insane. But some of the photos and things that I saw were just very moving.
Which, I mean,
in a lot of ways, because I saw a lot of police brutality. I saw a lot of it. I had a lot of friends that dealt with it. So it wasn't good. But I think the beauty of all these planets in Aquarius is not so much about exposing, but sharing. And even in the midst of Saturn being in the sign and us feeling very separated and isolated, everybody has really come together. There's a lot of everybody starting to kind of realize, wow, okay, I can live in my mansion and have a ton of money and not help the needy and not give back and just continue to take. But ultimately, all of these sick people are eventually going to affect me. So your money can't save you where this train is going.
Well, okay. And see, these people know that too. And that's what's going to be interesting to see in their position, what they do in advance in Aquarius to like, I really feel like, in an unrelated note, we may see a new rollout of false flag attacks or like things that are staged to set up this policy or that policy.
Some of these things have already happened.
You're right.
These things have already happened.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not gonna get into that because I don't know, but part of me wonders, and I've thought all along that things have been going on intentionally in this country for the last immediate year that has been orchestrated to create a divide and a separation between genders, between sexual orientation, political parties, race and ethnic issues. I mean, it's been set up.
But like as before, where it went over most of our heads, I think everyone will see it this time, and it's gonna be impossible to deny. Because now you're starting to see Tony Robbins speak up about this stuff and Pitbull. And it's like, hold on. You know, the last people, like, where's Ja Rule? Like, what's going
buying
on?
Doge.
Right,
He's buying Doge.
Oh, my
buying
God.
Doge.
And you know what's even crazier? Time Magazine came out recently. Did you hear about that?
It came out with what?
Time Magazine recently came out with an article talking about how a shadow campaign saved the 2020 election.
Oh, and then they exposed everything. I saw this the other day, and they were basically saying like something about like the cabal and like all of the involvement. I mean, I want to see it with my own eyes. I will probably buy that. So thank you for reminding me.
Oh yeah.
But if that's really what's happening, fuck. Like, you got to question: is this being put out now because they're trying to get it out?
Right.
Like, what is the purpose of all of this? Is there some super group that's trying to control and enslave everybody? Because guys, Pluto's getting into the last degrees of Capricorn. This is
endgame.
Yeah, but this is where you start to see like, oh shit, we're in the matrix. We have essentially been sold. We are not just consumers, but we are the product. So if that's what's happening, who's pulling the strings?
And that's the best part, because the last time Pluto was here, colonialists felt like they were being oppressed in a matrix, being taxed more than they had to be, and didn't want to be pulled by the strings by Britain. And
so wait a second, does this mean the Queen's going to take us back? Because I will take that dual citizenship. I'll get out of here real quick.
All right, we're going to take America back. That'll be wild.
We're going to make a bunch of like British hats that says "Taking America Back Again."
Hell, yo.
Taking America back again. Please take us back.
God.
Please.
We
could have some proper tea, and maybe we can...
Taking America back again.
Taking America back again. Did we just come up with a t-shirt?
Yo, Taka or Taba.
Do you have any other predictions for what you think is going to happen?
Well, it's good to look at this in stages. So like now until May, and then May till August. Definitely whatever happens from now till May is going to hit at a head. And from May to August, we'll see adjustments and integrating like, okay, this is what happened. So definitely a climax coming into May, maybe a spike or a huge crash.
And there's going to be something that's going to play out this month that's going to take clear until I think like March 10th or so, when Mercury comes out of the shadow of Aquarius. And at that point, then we're in Pisces. We're in Pisces season.
That's going to determine whether we crash or bust. Or raise, because that everything
Mars is changing signs then too.
Exact. So everything is too soon now, but Mercury going through the shadow is going to reveal all the shady shit that's been happening.
Oh yeah, and then when the sun touches with Neptune, and then we see that it move away and go into Aries. I don't feel like things are going to start to feel kind of stable until about April, and then it'll be like boom boom. May, June, July is going to be like shaking things up again, because we also have the second square that's going to happen in June. So whatever chaos is going on in your life or out in the world, it's a wake-up call. I think it's a time to basically look at things and go, okay, so we're moving out of the old ways. We can't kind of have this rigid structure. We need to honor some things about the system, but we need to do something new. So whether that's happening in your relationships or for you financially or in terms of your beliefs, just roll with the punches, kids. That's the best advice I can give you.
And I mean, treat it like you're still, which once again, everything you're doing, don't lose sight of the fact that everything that you're doing is revolutionary and you're a pioneer. Everything that you're trying hasn't really been done in the way that it's done. And you can move so quick through it that you forget to catalog it and own it. Uranus and Taurus is unconventional ownership. So there's that. And we also want to, take sight of not necessarily or remembering that this is still all not so much temporary but transitionary, because we are just like Candace said, we are reaching that point in May, but even also when the North Node gets into Taurus, where we are gonna at least have maybe the North Node in Gemini is like the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, but I mean, even with the North Node moving into Taurus, it's gonna move into Taurus, and then 2022, it's gonna square off with Saturn in Aquarius still, and Uranus in further degrees of Taurus. It'll be a fixed square. So I've told everybody, like I said last time,
buckle up your seats.
Yeah, fucking make the changes this year, because next year it'll be harder to make that change. And we talked about how the fixed signs were getting hit. What I want to talk about just briefly really quick is how the mutable signs are actually going to start getting hit, because once the sun ingresses and moves into Pisces, it'll conjoin with Neptune, which is like, well, can we trust it? Can we not trust it? And a bunch of other planets, and square the node. So that'll create a mutable square. So unlike the fixed square, which is reluctant to change, mutable signs do want to move. They want to adapt. They want to be open. But mutable squares are about communication, active listening, being able to actually retain the information, know it, believe it, Pisces, and act on it. So I think maybe where you guys really want to pay attention is like, okay, is what I'm hearing really what I'm hearing? Am I hearing what I want to hear? Do I trust this podcast, this radio station? Do I really trust this news channel? Do I believe what I'm hearing through the grapevine? And it's also about being able to be more open to, I think, different points of view and being able to kind of keep what you like and then dispose the rest.
And fully expect now, and with the new moon in Pisces, for Neptune to throw an unexpected curveball that you're going to be looking there, and then whoever needs to be doing that will be doing that. Like,
smoke and mirrors.
Fully expect that.
Lots of smoke and mirrors, especially if you're having this within any of like the angles or anything, really, when I think about it. Am I missing anything?
Well, there's what do you feel about Chiron?
About Chiron and Aries?
Yeah.
For the sextile to Saturn?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Chiron and Aries is taking responsibility for healing oneself, working on our stuff. We've spent a whole year alone. Many people have been alone. So there's that. I think the other side of it also is with the positive sextile, if you look at it as Chiron in the first from the 11th house, is the more that people focus on healing themselves, they can start working through their own personal issues and not projecting it on other people. Maybe they're finding healing through the internet and finding people who are like-minded or people who have similar issues that they need to heal. Lots of astrology people are certainly doing that right now because it's Aquarius. But I think it's taking responsibility for self-healing and the possibility that when we start talking about collectively how we can heal everybody, certain individuals are going to feel like they are capable of healing. So maybe it's including the outsider and the weird kid at the lunch table. Maybe it's actually creating programs for the needy and the homeless that's not degrading them and making them feel like they are just an obligation or something that's just like a blemish on society. It's treating them like human beings and helping them get the skills that they need to integrate back into society. Aquarius.
And this new moon is 12th house to Neptune. So it's definitely dealing with an aspect of coming into knowledge now and doing things and coming into revelations now that are so legendary that you won't realize until a month from now.
Yeah.
With the perspective to be like, oh wow, like this is what we started, or this is what actually happened.
I'm really excited to see planets go into Aries. I think that it's going to be a bit of a rocky start because I have
no Sag too.
Yeah.
Oh, other than South.
Well, there's a South Node, but you know, it's going to be a little bit of a rocky start as the Sun moves into Aries in March and it touches with Chiron, and then Venus will be there and a couple other planets. So it's still dealing with individual healing. But I think that, you know, everybody is going to feel like they can move forward. And I've said all along, you know, I think that May through July, I think is going to be like spring break and all hell's going to break loose. And a lot of people are going to start traveling again and socializing again. And then I think they're going to reel it in and they're going to try to get people to possibly quarantine or social distance or have more lockdowns maybe mid 2021. We'll see. But the further that Jupiter gets away from Saturn, the more fun we're going to have when it gets into the higher degrees of Aquarius, and we're going to see more socializing and stuff like that.
And then it's going to go into Pisces, and then boom.
I like not Venus in Pisces. I like that too. But Jupiter in Pisces, I mean, doesn't get much better than that. I think the cruise lines are going to come back. I'm going to invest in some cruises. Fuck. I'm just now thinking about that.
I love how everyone who's not even in the stocks is in the stocks. Like, that's really fun.
I have Uranus going through my 8th house. So I'm like, I'll invest in that.
Right.
I'm like, now I'm kind of like, all right, I can do that. I'm thinking about it.
And like that, and that's the ironic thing. Like that's really going to make a lot of people millionaires who weren't even expecting
But you got to be quick because the squares are like, it's going to be up and then down and then left and then right. It's
you
like,
got to be on it.
You got to be on it. And people can make money and lose money in the blink of an eye. And you're going to see a lot of this happening the next 3 months.
You may lose money before you make money too. So remember that.
Play the lottery. That's what I keep telling some people. Play the lottery. That's what I'm doing.
And the thing with that too is you could play the lottery, lose, but then meet the love of your life because you played the lottery. So just the action of like doing
because you played it. So
right, opportunity.
This is Mike giving you guys tips. Like go to your local 7-Eleven, buy that scratcher, and get a date with the kid behind the counter.
Right, just run into the right person on accident.
And he's buying a 40 and a hot dog, and I'm like, fuck yeah, that's my soulmate.
Yeah. And on that note, y'all know what to do. We about to see people in the comments like, I found my soulmate and we won the lottery.
Yeah, send us photos of you and your soulmate at 7-Eleven.
And a generous donation.
Oh, yeah. So if you guys want to contribute to our booze fund and production costs and help us keep this going and maybe even bring you guys videos weekly, if you want to subscribe and contribute, you can check out the links below. Otherwise, we will talk to you guys very soon. Take care. Bye.